The United Nations nuclear watchdog is worried that Israel may target Iran's nuclear facilities. Rafael Grossi, the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, issued the warning yesterday. He added that Iran has closed its nuclear sites over the security concerns. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak says he will soon speak with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Sunak said he will express Britain's solidarity with Israel on the call. They are also likely to discuss ways to prevent an escalation in West Asia. World leaders have been urging Israel to show restraint after it was attacked by Iran on Saturday. South Korean President Yeol has called for preemptive action to respond to tensions in West Asia. The tensions are likely to impact international oil prices. Yoon added that this may significantly affect South Korea's economy and supply chains. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz met with Chinese President Xi Jinping this morning. The leaders called for a long-term and strategic approach to enhance ties between the two countries. Scholz had earlier said that their conversation would also focus on restoring peace in Ukraine. The German Chancellor arrived in China on Sunday for a three-day visit. This is his second visit to China since taking office in December 2021. Lawmakers from the Caucasian nation of Georgia were trading blows in parliament. This was during parliamentary session yesterday. The fight took place because the ruling party looked set to advance a controversial bill on foreign funding. Footage showed the leader of the ruling party being punched in the face by an opposition lawmaker. The incident set off an all-out brawl in parliament. The trial of former U.S. President Donald Trump in the hush money case kicked off yesterday. The first day of the trial began with the selection of the jury. The judge was forced to dismiss dozens of potential jurors. More than half of them raised their hands to indicate that they could not be impartial in the case. The U.S. Congress will vote on two separate aid bills today, one for Ukraine and the other for Israel. The U.S. Senate passed a $95 billion package, which included aid for Ukraine and Israel. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives, says the new bills provide roughly the same amount of aid. However, there will be some changes. Part of the aid will be provided in the form of a loan. Pro-Palestinian demonstrators shut down the Golden Gate Bridge in the U.S. city of San Francisco yesterday. Traffic on the bridge came to a standstill after protesters chained themselves to parked vehicles. Authorities say about 20 people were eventually taken into custody. The Australian city of Sydney has experienced a second mass stabbing incident within 3 days. A 16-year-old stabbed a bishop during a church service. The Assyrian Orthodox bishop was wounded in the head and chest. The 53-year-old priest was taken to a hospital where he underwent surgery. At least 4 others were injured in the attack. Australian authorities say it was a religiously motivated terrorist act. In Myanmar, anti-junta rebels raised their own flags at a newly captured army base. The fighters say they repelled an attempt by the junta troops, who were trying to advance to the key town of Myawaddy at the Myanmar-Thailand border. The group, called the Karen National Union or KNU, took over Myawaddy last week. The Solomon Islands are set to elect their next government on April 17th. The election has been described as the most important since their independence from the British. This is the first election since their Prime Minister Manasseh Sogavare signed a security pact with China last year. For Western nations, the growing relationship between the Solomon Islands and China is a major concern. The West is waiting to see if incumbent Sogavare gets re-elected. In Denmark, a massive fire has engulfed Copenhagen's old stock exchange building. It is one of the country's oldest and most famous structures. The fire engulfed the building's iconic spire, which collapsed into the roof. Emergency crews were seen rushing to douse the flames as thick smoke billowed into the sky. There are no reports of injuries so far. A helicopter crashed in southern Mexico City yesterday. The pilot of the aircraft and 2 passengers were killed in the accident. Footage showed a tall, dark plume of smoke rising from the site of the accident. In climate news, at least 41 people have died across Pakistan as torrential rains lash the country. Authorities say 28 people were killed after being struck by lightning. The remaining deaths were caused by flash floods and landslides. Pakistan's weather agency has predicted more rainfall for western and southwestern parts of the country in the coming days. Meanwhile, heavy rains in eastern Oman have triggered flash floods as well. At least 17 people have been killed. Authorities say Oman's Al-Sharqiya province suffered the most due to severe downpour. The country has deployed its military to evacuate citizens from the flooded areas of the province. Rainstorms and winds caused flooding on roads in Bahrain as well. Residents were forced to drive through the floodwaters in the capital city, Manama. Authorities say storms were expected to hit several other Gulf countries, including the United Arab Emirates. Meanwhile, Russia's Ural region and northern Kazakhstan have been grappling with floods as well. They have forced more than 125,000 people to flee their homes. The deluge hit the areas after a dam on the Ural River burst in the Russian city of Orsk on April 5th. Moreover, unusual melting of ice has also caused the river to swell. Coral reefs around the world are experiencing bleaching for the 4th time in history. This is according to a report by the US National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. The report says that corals in at least 54 countries have lost their color. It adds that oceans are warming at an alarming rate, which is the main reason behind the coral bleaching. Severe, long-lasting bleaching can even kill coral reefs. "70 critically endangered tortoises have been reintroduced into the wild in the U.S. state of California. Experts say the tortoises suffered severely as a result of climate change. It's believed that a hurricane created extra moist conditions in California last year. This led to a breeding ground for predatory ants and flies. These insects further attack the tortoises as hatchlings. In Brazil, 92% of the mammal species in the Caatinga region will likely be lost by the year 2060. This is according to a study published in the scientific journal Global Change Biology. It says that the disappearance will be caused due to droughts, global warming, and deforestation. Earlier, the same researchers said that Caatinga may lose 99% of its plant species by 2060. On to business and tech news. China's gross domestic product, or GDP, grew by 5.3% in the first 3 months of this year. It was above the market forecast of 4.6%. This comes as a ray of light for China's struggling economy. China has struggled to recover from the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. The country's real estate sector is also mired in a massive crisis. Meanwhile, its local governments have been trapped under heavy debt. Hong Kong's markets regulator has approved exchange-traded funds for cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin and Ether. Bitcoin and Ether are 2 of the world's largest cryptocurrencies. Hong Kong has allowed 3 asset management firms to launch their cryptocurrency ETFs. Cryptocurrency ETFs allow traders to invest in the asset without actually buying them. Investment banking giant Goldman Sachs has reported a sharp rise in its first quarter earnings. The firm's profits rose by 28% to over $4 billion in the first 3 months of 2024. Its revenue rose by 16% to over $14 billion in the same period. Strong earnings have been attributed to a surge in the firm's investment banking income. Electric car giant Tesla is planning to lay off over 10% of its global workforce. The move is expected to impact over 14,000 employees at the firm. This comes as Tesla has been facing sales slowdowns and intense market competition. Arms manufacturer Lockheed Martin has won a $17 billion contract from the US government. Under the deal, the firm will develop the next generation of ballistic missile interceptors for the government. These interceptors will be designed to counter the attack of an intercontinental ballistic missile. The US government plans to buy 20 such interceptors from Lockheed Martin. Share prices of former US President Donald Trump's social media firm Trump Media declined by nearly 18% yesterday. This was after the firm announced its plans to sell more of its shares on the stock market. This includes the entire stake held by Donald Trump. Trump Media was listed on the New York Stock Exchange last month. Since then, the firm's shares have declined by over 60%. South Korean chipmaker Samsung has been granted nearly $6.4 billion in subsidies by the US government. This will help the firm expand its chip production facilities in the state of Texas. Meanwhile, Samsung is expected to invest nearly $45 billion in the country. This includes building 3 new chip plants and the expansion of its existing semiconductor facility. Microsoft will invest nearly $1.5 billion in the West Asian artificial intelligence firm G42. G42 is an Abu Dhabi-based firm that works on AI development in various sectors, including healthcare and finance. Under the new deal, Microsoft will provide its cloud services to the firm. Adobe is planning to add artificial intelligence tools to its video editing software, Adobe Premiere Pro. The firm aims to enhance Premiere Pro's editing capabilities with AI features. Adobe says that the AI features will enable editors to fill scenes with AI-generated objects. It's also expected to allow editors to remove objects from scenes without manual editing work. Meta has temporarily shut down its social media platform Threads in Turkey. This is to comply with an order from the country's fair trade regulator. Last month, the regulator asked the firm to stop sharing data between Threads and Instagram. The regulator alleges that combining Instagram user data with their Threads profiles violates the country's competition laws. Now on to sports. We start with cricket. In the Indian Premier League or IPL, Sunrisers Hyderabad beat Royal Challengers Bengaluru by 25 runs in a high-scoring thriller yesterday. Hyderabad went out to bat first and set up a score of 287 for 3 in their 20 overs. Travis Head led from the front and smashed a century. RCB put on a great chase. Faf du Plessis hit 62 of 28 balls. 38-year-old Dinesh Karthik scored 83 in 35 deliveries. However, they fell just short at 262 for 7. Sunrisers Hyderabad also achieved a milestone during their match against Bengaluru. Their score of 287 while batting against RCB was the highest total in IPL history. Travis Head's destructive ton powered Hyderabad to the incredible feat. The previous record was also held by Hyderabad when they hit 277 during their second IPL match this season. Australian all-rounder Glenn Maxwell will take an indefinite break from the IPL. Maxwell said he wants to focus on his mental and physical health. He's been struggling with his form at Royal Challengers Bengaluru. So far, in 6 games, Maxwell has managed to score just 32 runs. In football, Chelsea demolished Everton 6-0 in the Premier League yesterday. England international Cole Palmer stole the show by scoring 4 goals. He scored a sensational hat-trick within just the first 29 minutes. Nicholas Jackson also struck before half-time to give Chelsea a 4-0 lead. Palmer went on to score a penalty after the break. Then Alfie Gilchrist added a late 6th in the 90th minute to wrap things up. In tennis, India's Sumit Nadal has achieved his career-high ranking of 80 in men's singles. This was due to his stellar run at the recently concluded Monte Carlo Masters. He made it till the second round and was knocked out by last year's runner-up, Holger Rune. Nadal is now the 7th highest-ranked Indian man since computerized ATP rankings were introduced in 1973. Indian veteran tennis player Rohan Bopanna lost his world number 1 ranking in men's doubles, but he lost it to his longtime partner Matthew Ebden. The two won their first Grand Slam together at the Australian Open. However, the top-seeded Indo-Australian duo was eliminated in the round of 16 at the recent Monte Carlo Masters. Meanwhile, former world number 1 Rafael Nadal has confirmed that he will play at this week's Barcelona Open. This will be his first tennis tournament since the Brisbane season opener in January. Nadal made a comeback from injury in January, but then he was sidelined again because of a hip issue. It forced Nadal to pull out of the Australian Open and the Monte Carlo Masters. In athletics, Lithuania's Mykolas Alenka has set a new men's discus world record. The 22-year-old was participating at the Oklahoma Throw Series competition. His record-breaking throw of 74.35 meters came during his 5th attempt. The previous record of 74.08 meters was set by Germany's Jürgen Schult back in 1986. Friba Rezai, the first woman to represent Afghanistan at the Olympics, has urged the International Committee to ban her country from the upcoming Paris Games. She highlighted the treatment of women in Afghanistan and the abysmal human rights record since the resurgence of the Taliban. Rezai is a judo practitioner who competed at the 2004 Olympics in Athens. French President Emmanuel Macron has said that Paris has prepared a Plan B for the opening ceremony of the Olympics. The ceremony is slated to be held on the River Seine. But it could be moved to a different spot should security risks escalate. Terror threats and the tensions in West Asia and Ukraine have led the French government to raise security to its highest level. In entertainment news, Keanu Reeves will reportedly voice the character of Shadow in Sonic the Hedgehog 3. He will join a cast that includes Ben Schwartz and Jim Carrey. The franchise is one of Paramount Pictures' most successful. The global box office collection of the previous 2 films stands at $725 million. Blake Lively's upcoming feature will hit theaters on the 9th of August. The film, titled It Ends With Us, was initially scheduled to be released in February. Lively is an executive producer for the film and also stars alongside Justin Baldoni. The movie is an adaptation of Colleen Hoover's novel of the same name. Jonathan Bailey is reportedly in talks to join the Jurassic World franchise. This comes as reports say Scarlett Johansson is already on the call sheet for the feature. Earlier this year, Bailey won a Critics' Choice Award for Best Supporting Actor in the TV show Fellow Travelers. He'll be seen next in the musical fantasy film Wicked alongside Ariana Grande. Christopher Nolan's Interstellar will be re-released in celebration of its 10th anniversary. The sci-fi masterpiece will return to theaters on the 27th of September. Interstellar first premiered in the US in November 2014. It features Matthew McConaughey, Anne Hathaway, and Jessica Chastain in lead roles. Henry Cavill is expecting his first child with his girlfriend Natalie Viscuso. The Justice League star says he's very excited to become a father. The couple has been dating for more than 3 years. They recently attended the premiere of Cavill's movie Argylle in London. American singer Courtney Love recently took shots at several fellow female musicians. In an interview, the singer said that Taylor Swift is not important. This comes 3 years after she hailed Swift for being a role model for young women. Additionally, Courtney Love noted that she dislikes Beyoncé's new country hit, Cowboy Carter. Meanwhile, Cowboy Carter led the album charts in the US for the second consecutive week. It has logged 125,000 sales and 133 million streams in the last 7 days. This is Beyoncé's first album to spend 2 weeks at the top spot after 10 years. Will Smith made a surprise cameo at the Coachella Music Festival. He joined J Balvin on stage, dressed in character as Agent J from Men in Black. He also performed a song of the same name, Men in Black, from the 1997 hit film. Will Smith's appearance sent the crowd into a frenzy of nostalgia and excitement. Indo-Canadian singer AP Dillon delivered a power-packed performance at Coachella. However, a certain action of the singer seems to have upset his fans. He broke a guitar on stage and shared a clip of the incident on social media. This invited criticism from netizens who accused him of disrespecting the musical instrument. K-pop singer IU has accomplished an impressive feat on YouTube. Her music video 23 has surpassed 100 million views on the platform. She has now become the first female K-pop solo artist with 9 music videos to achieve this milestone. 23 was released in October 2015.
From impeachments to inaugurations, if it's a political story, we are on the scene. The race for the White House is heating up.
We're beating Biden.
How dare he say that?
If it's breaking news, we're live with the latest coverage. From the White House, the State Department, and Capitol Hill, we know the issues, but above all, we know the players to bring you the latest in-depth analysis on all the key stories that we're covering. I'm Eric Ham. Join me from Washington here on Firstpost America.